forest ground. Okay, we are going to see a little bit of more ground. Let's see the renders. Simple stuff. We have our rocks, we have our base ground. We actually have 2 or 3 different types of rocks, and yeah, and we can also affect the ground, the actual ground, which we will see in a bit. Now, here's our final graph, and of course we're going to start with the ground base. Now you can see that I've started with a clouds 1 node, and this gives us a little bit of more high differentiation. Like, it's a good start to start with the ground. However, you can see that if you go into some extreme angle, yeah, it kind of starts to get a little bit lumpy. So what we can do is blend it with, I just used a fractals and base with just copy, and you can see that I used the same node as a mask also, so we also get a little bit of yeah, we basically fill up where there is the black area, so it's a little bit more weighted, and you can see that it starts to be a little bit more flat and more universal, or yeah, I guess more flat will be the appropriate term. Okay, so keep that in mind, use it depending on which one you want to use. And then I use histogram range. Basically I want this to start as my canvas, and I will start putting everything else on top of this. Okay, so histogram range, you can see position, I basically just lowered the position. And then I will go and add everything that has to do with what goes on top of it. So we will see the rocks first. Let's put this over here. And there's nothing, or rocks, pebbles, okay, there's nothing special with this. We start our usual way, a shape, paraboloid, you know, lower the scale, run it through a warp node, okay, Perl noise 1, run it through a directional warp, just get the base going. And then I'm going to add it through, you know, some tilers. The first one is going to be my bigger rocks, which is tile random. Okay, and I'm going to also use, since these are the way bigger rocks, I'm going to use low Brewer grayscale, and we're going to get this effect. So we start cutting away into our rocks. Okay, so this is ready. Let's go a little bit back. Now what else we can use is use a tile sampler to, you know, spread them around, and you can see the settings. Basically the idea is to just get enough of them inside inside our image. Again, there's nothing special with this, just play with the values, and we're looking something that looks towards this. Now one nice thing to note is that the tile sampler can actually take more pattern inputs. So if you raise the pattern input number, okay, you can get even more. And if you insert another pattern input over here, it will randomly select either one pattern or the other. So it's really nice to just spread things up, okay, like this. And this is actually a nice view. So I took the very first shape, warp it again with a different intensity. You can see that I still use the same node, then warp it again with another intensity and another Perl noise 1. Okay, so we have 2 patterns, and we add it on the first tile sampler, and this is almost an exact copy paste with just a simple pattern. And this is even smaller rocks, that some of them are just going to vanish and get inside the ground. Basically they're going to blend together. Okay, after that we're blending them all together with max lighten, and depending on the opacity, it will either make the smaller ones pop or it will hide them. I went with more hide them because on the height map they might look out like spikes. Unless you want something like that, then by all means do it that way. Now after that we're going to blend them together with our bigger rocks, okay, with max lighten, and we have the base for our rocks, and you can see that we're using this a lot. So what I did over here, I used max lighten as the first little pass that goes on top of my base ground. Okay, you can see that it's 0.15 and we start to get these little lamps. Now this is ready to get the color basically, but before we see that, we're going to see the small branches. Okay, there are many ways, or I call them branches. I guess you can call them leaves, or call them whatever you like. Here's how we're going to make them. Okay, shape node, raised bell, slow brew grayscale, and we get this more bigger shape, I guess. And then we're going to transform and crunch it a bit, and with warp we're going to get a more leafy design. However, okay, it's not an actual leaf though. It's some of the stuff you might see on a forest ground. And again, another tile sampler. Of course you can keep adding, or now that I think of it, you could just add this on another one of the tile samplers. However, this way we are making sure we have a different mask to basically to use for coloring. And what I didn't cover also is that I took the bigger rocks and added them on the vector map input. Okay, it will automatically add a conversion from grayscale to color, or gradient map, I think this is. Yeah, gradient map. Hit D to dock and undock, and I hope you know this. Okay, and what you can do is, if you go into the vector map displacement, it will try to push things with the pattern you add over here. However, do not take it for granted. Okay, this is just random, and I think you can do a lot more stuff with this. However, that's all to find out one day. Anyway, we were over here into our branches or leaves or whatever, and okay, we have a base. Let's get a lot more of them for cheap. So we're going to use a safe transform grayscale, blend them together. I just rotated this, blend them together with our previous thing, then use another safe transform grayscale, and then again blend them together, and we have our base. Now I wanted, you could just do something the same with this scratches node, but I think you will have a lot more control this way, or you can replace it with something else or a different pattern. So either way, if it works, it works. And this will be used also for our base, for our mask. So we have everything that goes for the height, and let's see this. So let me find a main one. Okay, the base ground is here, and we go and add all the the small branches. However, we're going to use a mask because we do not want any of the branches to go on top of our rocks. And that mask will be this shape over here. Invert the grayscale. You can see though that we still have some gradient we need to get rid of, and that will be the levels node. We can still work with this with these ones. Okay, they are no trouble, so we're going to add them, and we have our main designs. If you go with way more, if you overcrank this, then you will see that things will start popping up. Well, you know, if you look it from far away, it might look like actually grass that exists into your scene, but if you go way too close, it might not look that good. So let's play it safe and let's just leave it at a very hint of, you can see that you can notice the different shapes just from the highlights. If there was no color on top of this, okay, you will just get a highlight upon this. After that, we're going to add also we're going to add back our bigger shapes, which we see over here, and instead of getting this, which already has the smaller shapes, the smaller rocks, we're going to get this one. Let me revert to this because I like this view, and I'm going to use this one, and I'm adding them with max light and okay, just one. They are very different from the ground, so we can go this much. And our height is ready. And we're also going to make our normal map, our first pass for our normal map, and I think intensity of 5 work in this case. Now, after that, we can see our microsurface, and basically I want, the ground is already noisy. Okay, I didn't think it was necessary to add a lot more noise on the ground. Okay, so I only want to work with my rocks, and to do that, we're going to get this pattern we have over here, and we're going to run this through a blend node with a divide, and we get all this. Yeah, even if it's not entirely accurate with this, we don't really care, since we can just use this for mask and we can blend stuff. Yeah, and we're just going to get to add more noise on top of it, so you know it doesn't matter in the end. And however, of course, we need to work and clear a little bit our mask, so we get a levels node will do the job. And then the easiest way, dirt one, subtract on top of our shapes. You can see that it's very subtle, and then simply add a little bit more microsurface, and this has to do with cracks. So what I did, cells 3, levels, reverse it over here instead of using a node. Okay, blend them with the clouds 2 and levels node just to get rid of some straight lines. This is very, very subtle, like you can see it over here. Okay, this white line. Warp node, intensity of 5, pale noise 1, leave it over there, and then subtract on top of it, and you will see some smaller designs, some smaller scratches. Okay, it's very, very subtle, and in some cases it doesn't even exist. You can see it over here. Okay, of course you can change the random seed, and it will also change your whole where these are placed, but I think you have just a few ones to just break away some of the bigger shapes. Okay, works just fine. Normal node, okay, intensity of 1, since this is microsurface there's no need to overcrank it. Normal combined, detail oriented, and we get this for our normal, and this is our normal, so we can also export it or output it. Okay, curvature, ambient occlusion, and export ambient occlusion. And while we're here, just drop a dirt mask, so we're going to use it later for coloring. Okay, roughness. For the roughness, very simple, since everything is ground anyways. We just get the first our rocks, just so that we have a different, somewhat different roughness for our rocks, that it separates at least the patterns from the ground. So what I did, clouds 2 again, you can change the random seed if everything looks always the same. Okay, multiply it high pass grayscale, no, histogram range. You can see I've lowered the range and raised the position a bit, and I'm blending them with the base ground, or the ground we have from over here, before we add the histogram range, because this is pretty dark at this case. So yeah, there's no need to, you know, just take this and then refix the levels. Just take this and yeah, we will work with this. And we are using straight up copy. This is our mask for the rocks. Okay, we have everything together. Then I think I've added a little bit of a different for the branches, but in the end it doesn't really make that much of a difference. Okay, because there are very subtle differences in the roughness. So I take this, multiply it with clouds 1, and then with blend node and add the linear dots. You can see that we get everything like there's no shininess wherever there is those little branches. Okay, and our roughness metallic, of course, is over here. And from over here we are pretty much almost done. We just have to see the color, and the color is basically where I played a lot. So the first thing I took is from the ground base. I took this and ran it through gradient map just as it is. You can see that it's like that, just a brownish color. Okay, do the first pass with multiply, so we get darken everything into our color. We get some different values. Then I'm basically creating different from the same color, again creating different variations of the color. In some cases it's just almost entirely different, but it's all based on using these values. Now of course we could just use a uniform color and sample it, but you know, why not use this way also. So blend, what I did again, just took a few of the different noises we already have. Okay, black and white spots 3 in this example, and add this more brownish color on top of this with add linear dots. I wanted to have a little bit of a hint of green, as you can see this over here, so I'm using clouds clouds 3, because it kind of looks like where you know, a little bit of flora will develop. However, yeah, if you go with too much, like in my case, or it's either this one or this one, well, anyway, both of these, if you add too much of a green, it might look like you know, excrement instead of ground. So keep that in mind, store that information for when you absolutely have to use it. Okay, so again, black and white spots, clouds 3, we add again with copy, and then black and white spots 1, but because this is everywhere, I just multiplied with a pale noise 1, and then added this also, which is somewhat more greener or more darker green, or not green. Okay, and we add it on top of this. So okay, you can see we have a lot of colors and a lot of hints of colors. You could just keep adding and keep adding, like I think a little bit of yellow wouldn't really hurt, but the branches already have a lot of yellow, so if we start putting, you know, color without thinking a little bit for it, and yeah, we might just lose our branches. Okay, so after that we can basically create our grass color, but before we have our grass color we need to find our to create a mask for our color. We have this, however we need to remove the to basically find where these are placed, and I can see that this doesn't really match too much. So I have over here where I'm blending them together, and I use a blend node with divide again, and I've also used another mask over here, and I got this, which, yeah, again, as I said, doesn't really seem to do much, but anyway, let's keep it. However, here is what we actually need to work with, and is we get this, our rocks again, and subtract them from our branches, and you can see that with this we start getting some areas. We still have a few yellow, white parts, but this could easily get rid of from the coloring, and just by this will be our final, which are the mask we're going to use to basically add our branches. So for the grass color, I just reused some of this because, why not? So what I did is just took the first, the light green we have over here, and multiply it with the darker one, and use the mask of clouds 3. Okay, and we are over here. We have our base color. However, I knew I wanted to be a little bit more yellowish, so that it's more like an autumn forest or something like that. So I work with 2 yellows. I blended them together with Pearl Noise Zoom. Okay, and I have my, without linear dots, you can see that we get a little bit of way too saturated, saturated green and yellow. Now, and I'm using HSL blue, or with I just got something like this, but if you subtract blue from this color, then you get some more rotten, I guess, rotten, or let's go with rotten, like colors you will actually see on a leaf or something like that. Yeah, I found the color entirely by accident. Okay, I would just select this and then play it with the values. I like that, so I kept that. And the mask I'm using over here is the dirt map, and I knew I wanted to have a different, a slightly different dirt for the, so basically the dirt map in this one just helps to break away a little bit the color from the branches, like you can see it, especially in some cases like this. Okay, and that's why I've added my dirt basically 2 times. So this is also the color for our branches, leaves, or whatever. Okay, and we still haven't seen the color for the rocks. So let's see the color for the rocks. We have our microsurface. You can see that I didn't add any microsurface on the color, but just work it as its own thing. I just took this, ran it through a gradient map so we can actually multiply it with a base color. In this case it's just gray. Of course you can change the color to something else, and I've created another color which is a more darker color with a different value. I intentionally wanted to stay on low value colors, okay, lower saturated colors, to kind of feel like it's all mixing up, and I think that actually works, especially on the rocks over here and how everything blends together. And yeah, where were we? We have our base color. We add another more color from black and white spots 3. Okay, you can see it over here. We basically just add this color wherever the black and white spot 3 has white, and we're going to add another grants from a grants map this time. Okay, some more darker color. You can see the pattern we get over here, and this is over here, which kind of feels really nice, like it's natural form noise for some reason. And after that we have this, which is a little bit of a green. Yeah, the green we have over here with clouds 3. Okay, so just we throw a little bit of more color so that it starts to blend a little bit. And finally we're going to add some highlights, and to add the highlights I just made this color higher value or higher lightness, and I've created a somewhat of a mask. Okay, there's no much of thought behind this. I just took this and cloud 3. Of course, whenever you see a lot of the same noises, you can just use the same ones. Okay, I'm just doing this because I'm lazy, and you can be lazy too, of course. All it takes is no effort at all. Okay, cloud 3, directional warp, you can see 72, but I kinda really like the striation it gives, like especially on the bigger shapes. Okay, it's kind of feels like it's more natural for the, yeah, like a more natural formation of the color on the rocks. So yeah, of course you are free to do anything else you want with this. Okay, and what's left to do is of course blend them all together, which we take the base color from our ground, which is this, add the rock on top of this, then I'm going to add the dirt, and you can see that it starts separate, and this can work by itself as ground. Okay, but okay, it will have been a little bit too flat to use without the leaves. So yeah, for the dirt color, nothing really special, just took another color, multiply on top of it, and you have this. Okay, and then we're going to add our leaves, and we are pretty much done. Okay, so this is it, and this is actually a nice view, so I think I might try to render this also and see how it looks on array. Okay, so this is it. Of course you can keep adding a lot more detail. If I had a little bit more time, I will probably add a few more, bigger leaves, or we might do it on another video. There's a lot of stuff we can keep adding, and the nice thing is you basically just want some more detail, or this works also. However, if you want to add more stuff, then by all means do so. So the main I was mostly concerned about working with the coloring or playing with the color, and you can see that I believe it worked out. Okay, so you know what to do, like, subscribe. You can also of course get this material and all the other materials I have on my channel from my Patreon page. Feel free to also pledge there, so I have a reason to keep doing all them. And we'll see next time. If you have any suggestions, of course, feel free to ask them in the comments. As always, I do not promise that I will do it, because there's no guarantee they're even going to look good. And I'm also looking into some other areas we can, or some other videos we can do with the channel that isn't necessarily substance design. So I'll see you next time.